if you are happy to have your data in tables, Google Sheets or Excel sheets, and if you're intelligent enough and skilled enough to extract the insights out of that, which most of us can't, right? Well, then your tables are okay. Otherwise, you will be much better off with having well-designed, actionable dashboards and reports that will help you make decisions faster, better decisions faster. And that's the primary role of tools. I mean, we see dashboards and reports just being tools that help us make decisions, help us take actions, and help us monitor the impact of decisions that we made and actions that we've taken.
Welcome back to SEOleverage.com. This is episode 125. My name is Gert Mellak, and today I'm really excited because the topic is going to be a little bit different from what we normally talk about. We are going to talk about data, and specifically about how to control the data in your company, in your business, and how to actually keep an eye on the most important KPIs in the context of a dashboard. And for this reason, I have invited the person who's my go-to person whenever something comes up with dashboards, with data analysis, Feliks Golengko from multibase.de. Welcome, Felix.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for taking the time. I know you're always busy crunching numbers for all the big companies out there, and more also for small and medium-sized companies, which is why I thought it would be really important for us to have a chat and say, okay, what is this dashboard magic about that you keep talking about, the design of a dashboard? We're going to hear a few things I think hardly anybody has heard in such detail. Still try to not go too deep, but I'm really curious what you're going to tell us. My notes are really, I have an pretty empty notepad here in front of me because I don't know enough to ask the right questions, I think, but I'm really looking forward to this. And yeah, can you quickly give us an overview how you come to dashboards? What's your journey to end up being a dashboard and data analysis specialist?
Oh, that's a long story. I'll make it short. See, I'm one of these super lucky guys, or I consider myself being super lucky. I've been in touch with data for 40 plus years. I actually started already during my studies. I was working as a programmer, and I was doing reports. And then I turned into my business. I was kind of employee for 2.5 years. I used to work for this great company of Compaq. Some of the older guys may remember them. And what was I doing there? Reporting and planning. And then I founded Multibase. That was 33 years ago. And since then, we do nothing but working with data, designing and implementing dashboards and reports. Well, that's kind of the visible part of what we do. But most people don't know there's a much bigger invisible part, and that is preparing the data, collating the data from all these different systems in which we collect the data, and then making this data, bringing that data in the form and shape so that it can be reporting on.
I think this is an excellent point, because if I think about my clients, about our own situation, very often we are going to be faced with a situation where we have a lot of different platforms, especially in the online space. We have, everybody has Google Analytics, I think. Most people also look at Google Search Console, where we have some data. Then they have a Shopify site or a shopping cart system like Thrivecart, or they have a Stripe account. They have data from their course software, for example, how many new users they get and how they behave, etc. How does this actually work? How do you collate this data? What's the process behind it? How can I imagine that?
Well, first of all, let me extend with just two different type of systems. All of your customers probably also got CRM, and all of them or some of them got an ERP or some kind of accounting package. So just kind of adding to the complexity here. And to answer your question, well, one of the, I mean, you just gotten to one of the core questions here, right? How do you prepare data for your reporting? And one of the biggest questions that we get from SMEs is, well, do I need a data warehouse? Well, the answer, one of the answers to your questions, or the answer to your question is, well, you create a data warehouse or analytic infrastructure in which you collate this data from all these disparate sources, right? And then bring it in the form so that it can be reported on. And that is quite a bit of a challenge. And it's basically, you've got two components there. Number one, the component it's where you hold the data, where you store the data storage, right? And the second component is what we call ETL, stands for extraction, transformation, and loading. Extraction from the source systems, right? Then transformation in the form so that it can be reported on, and then loading in the target structure so that then different reporting tools that could be used, business intelligence tools like Power BI, Tableau, ClickSense, or even Excel, can then access this data and turn this raw data into actionable dashboards and reports.
Mm-hmm. So now we already jumped too quickly probably into the technical part, but I appreciate you answering my question. Now I have a lot of clients that would probably say, okay, I can check out 3 platforms to know how things are going. Mm-hmm. Why should I care about a dashboard in the first place?
Well, I mean, if you would like to make educated decisions, if you'd like to make data-driven decisions, then you will need actionable presentation of your, well, not, I don't even call it data, but I call it of your KPIs and your metrics, okay? Mm-hmm. I mean, if you are happy to have your data in tables, Google Sheets or Excel sheets, and if you're intelligent enough and skilled enough to extract the insights out of that, which most of us can't, right? Well, then your tables are okay. Otherwise, you will be much better off with having well-designed, actionable dashboards and reports that will help you make decisions faster, better decisions faster. And that's the primary role of tools. I mean, we see dashboards and reports just being tools that help us make decisions, help us take actions, and help us monitor the impact of decisions that we made and actions that we've taken.
At this moment, I remember a story I shared on your podcast the other day where we were actually losing thousands of dollars, and it hurts whenever I mention it. Just because we did not have the right data, we did not have the data from our accounting system in this case tagged and prepared well enough to actually make an intelligent decision, as you say. So I can see the value to put these together. But what is it actually that makes a KPI actionable for a business?
Well, it makes it actionable if it helps you monitor what is happening in your business, if it gives you transparency over your performance. Obviously, we would need to talk about what performance is. Performance in marketing is different than performance in sales, is different than in operations, and so on. Okay, so you need the transparency over the performance. And then when it gets really, really interesting, if you've got KPIs or dashboards and reports with a set of KPIs that show you improvement potential. Okay, and this is where then let's say reporting and analytics comes to its power. This is when then we also start talking about what we call ROA, return on analytics. I mean, you just mentioned you lost several thousands of whatever currency,
several thousand,
right? Well, but let's say you I would consider your and my company being a small company. I mean, I know of companies who are losing 8 figures, 9 figures, okay, or not even realizing that. And this is where reporting and analytics come into the game.
Yeah, no, makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. And in this case, it is interesting to see where you say, okay, transparency over performance potential. Can you elaborate on this or give an example? What would this look like in a dashboard where you see here there's potential to actually improve? Is this formulas that you apply to put different KPIs in context, or what does this look like?
Well, that's a great question. First of all, you need to be very careful about which KPIs you choose, which KPIs you monitor in the first place. Okay. Now, most of us entrepreneurs are interested at the end of the value growth chain. We may come later a bit. We may go deeper in the value growth chain, but at the end of the value growth chain is financials, right? It's the revenues that we make, it's the cost, and then derived profits, and probably for some of us, super important cash flow, right? Well, those, if you just monitor those KPIs, it's going to help you. Okay, but the problem with those KPIs is once you've got them, okay, once you look at them, everything in your business has already happened before, which means you have developed your products, okay, you have generated your leads, you have converted those leads into sales, hopefully, you have delivered your services or products, and then you've written your invoices, and your suppliers and your partners have written invoices to you, and you've paid your salaries. Okay, so if you look at just the financial numbers, okay, those won't help you a bit. But your question was, how do I see then the performance? Well, the performance you kind of can already derive when you at least have an actual figure. Okay, you've got the actual number. But what we try to do for well-designed dashboards and reports, we also put these actual figures in perspective. At least one thing with the timeline. Is this KPI, is the value of this KPI how is it evolving over time? Is it improving? Is it staying the same, or is it getting worse? Okay, so that's the very first thing. The second thing, what we do, comparison again, is against targets, against forecasts and things like this. Okay, one of the most important questions when I go and design dashboards and reports is I ask my partners, my target audience, how do you know you're good? I say, now, what do you mean? I'm good.
That's a good question.
How do you know you're performing good? I say, this is where the thinking starts. It's super interesting discussions we have, right? Well, one of the things you're good, you're improving over time. Okay? So that's the comparison we do, as I mentioned. One of the things you're good, well, you're on budget or you're above budget. Okay? So, and then the other things, when it then gets really interesting, when you start seeking correlations. Right? Your business, the traffic and then conversions and things like this. So you've got several metrics, and then you observe correlations. And this is when it gets really interesting. And that's how we then choose, that's the methodology we use for choosing the KPIs to be monitored and to be reported on.
Interesting. So you essentially talk to the business owner, you establish where their goals are, you come up with comparisons. I find this is really interesting, where you set them in perspective and establish what the correlations are. From there, you're the design specialist. I know this from hearing you, knowing you. What does it take to have a well-designed dashboard? What are elements, or what would I see if I had a well-designed dashboard? What would I have in front of me?
Well, a well-designed dashboard, first of all, would be one that you would use. Well, let me answer your question in a minute, okay? There are two important things here to say. Before we talk about dashboards, right? First of all, we need to understand dashboards are the tools that help us make decisions and take actions, right? Now, who works with dashboards? People, we do. Business owners, CEOs, whoever in our enterprises makes decisions, right? And then it is really important that we think of, well, in what situations do our decision makers take decisions? Are these daily huddles? Are these weekly sure fixes? Are these monthly reviews? Okay. And then we go and design the dashboards for them so that the questions in these situations for them are being answered. Okay. Now, see, the questions you have got on daily basis are different than the questions you may have on weekly basis, are different than the questions you may have on monthly basis. Okay. So that is than the primary focus of the design process. We identify our target audience, we identify the situations in which they make decisions, and then through dialogue with them, one of the questions is, how do you know you're good? Okay. Or what kind of information would you need to make decisions? Or what kind of questions have you got in these various situations? Then we go and design the dashboards and reports for these situations.
Reminds me of what we have built internally as a little bit of a, I'm not sure if I can call it the dashboard. It's a spreadsheet where we track certain KPIs from our clients. We track if they are getting conversions, if the conversions are going up, if the traffic is going up, but we also track if they're implementing. So in SEO Leverage, we have a consulting program where we every couple of weeks line up what should be the focus, what should be implemented. And then some clients implement on their end. Sometimes we are the ones implementing. But we have this consulting framework that works really, really well. And we are tracking if implementation happens, because we know as one of the lead metrics that is going to indicate if somebody is successful in SEO is whether the implementation happens. And everybody has difficult situations where we need all hands on deck for something else and probably not SEO specifically. So we track as a metric the implementation, and we track the communication with clients, if this is working, if they're responding, if they're not responding, in order to have essentially a dashboard we use in the strategy call. So once a week, I have a call with my strategists that are responsible for the project. And based on this dashboard, we go through the different values with a color highlighting and see which one is red, which one is green, which one is orange, and essentially tackle the red ones and what's happening here. Do we have feedback from the client? We have the latest client comment on this dashboard as well. What is the reason why is this not happening, or what has the strategist already done in order because of this value? Because once a week they have to collect this data. So we can probably partly automate it technically, but it's more qualitative assessment of the strategist for every project every single Friday, where we just put in those values from 1 to 4, and based on these values, we then have the conversation.
Well, I mean, see, the issue is dashboards and reports are tools that help us make decisions. And if we've got, I mean, how do we make decisions? Either it's our gut feeling, okay? Or it's a bit more educated decision because we've done some research, or we are analyzing the data that helps us make these decisions. And there are some metrics like this qualitative metrics that you just mentioned. Which is your judgment. I say, okay, well, we are 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. If 1 is good or 4 is good, doesn't really matter. But it helps you as an indicator. Well, okay, so if it's 4 and 4 is bad, okay, well, then you're going to make a decision and take action to do something about it to improve it. And that's the basic principle here. I mean, dashboards and reports on themselves are not going to improve your business. Okay. Yeah. They are going to help you. They're going to motivate you to make decisions and take actions so that you will hopefully improve the performance of part of your business or your business as a whole. Okay. Well, and then there's another thing I already mentioned, well, the well-designed dashboards or different set of dashboards then also helps you monitor the impact of the decisions that you've made and actions you've taken. Because, I mean, when you decide to start a project or start a campaign, well, you will do it with the best possible intention, obviously, okay? But is it going to work the way you expected? Well, you hope, okay? But hope is not the strategy. So you have to monitor, right? Yeah. And then you see, well, if it goes in the direction you would like to have, well, obviously, you're going to do more of it, okay? And if it doesn't, you're going to pivot, okay, or quit, okay. But for that, you need good reporting, okay.
Makes sense. It's definitely reminding me of one part that's definitely missing in our dashboard right now is the history, because we just work on the same view. We just update the numbers. We have the data to have a history in there, but we would not have visually the data right now, I think, to know this has been going on for 3 months. This particular situation, for example, so we're a small company. We can talk about it. We kind of know, this client still hasn't responded or still hasn't implemented. Is still going through this and that. But in bigger companies, I imagine it's really, really important to actually have a history. So something is happening based on the dashboard. Actions are taken. and now it's getting better again. And the visual aspect, I imagine, is like really important to visually see what's going on.
It's just another implication of what I was talking before, Gert, when I said comparison from the timeline perspective. Okay, I just had a design session with one of our customers a couple of hours ago, and he was very proud and showed me he created the data story starting with a dashboard, with an overview dashboard, and he showed me the number 124% of something. Okay, and then I said, "Well, how do you know it's good?" He said, "Yeah, everything above 100% is good." And I said, "Well, really? Now you're looking at your numbers on a weekly basis, but how about 6 weeks ago it was 156%, and then it was 148%, and then it was 132%, and all of a sudden your 124% doesn't look that good anymore." And that's what I'm saying. If you just look at the number as an actual number, well, it is not that much of an insight. At least you should compare it on the timeline.
Yeah. What kind of company? Now, I need to ask another question first. You mentioned a term that I'm not sure if anybody knows. I definitely couldn't explain it. What's a data story?
Oh, I just brought it in the game. Well, a data story is nothing but a collection of dashboards and reports. Okay? Usually it starts with an overview dashboard. Okay, and in overview dashboard you would have, I don't know, 5 to 7 most important KPIs, metrics that you're tracking, and you would have them on an overview level. You'd have them maybe a monthly timeline or quarterly timeline, whatever you're looking at. Obviously, design in a way that you already see whether there are problems with one of the, hopefully not too many of these KPIs. Because then what you would do, you would go drill through, you would do drill through or drill down, where you would look at that very KPI on a much more detailed level. Okay? And this collection, this analytic path is what we call a data story.
Okay, interesting. This is similar to what we do with our app, I think, where we see there's a drop in conversions, and then we would go like one level deeper and say, okay, which pages are affected? Where does the traffic come in? Where the conversions actually drop? Because some pages might be up actually in conversions, but there is a drop based on like a major traffic page where suddenly there was an issue with a call to action that didn't work, so the leads dropped. So we would go one level deeper. Okay, fully understood. Thank you. This is really educational.
Well, let me add one component, Gert, here, because it might be interesting for you and your audience. There are two basic principles, design principles that we follow, and you'll see where the connection is in a second. And one principle is not one dashboard for everyone. Okay, and the second basic principle is not everything on one dashboard. And the data story I was just talking about is derived based on this second principle, not everything on one dashboard, okay? We really build a story, okay? Most of the time, top-down story, right? As I just described it. Here's the overview, and then we go as deep as we need to in order to then, at the end, or really make decisions and take actions.
So this would mean that some, and as the strategist on my end, for example, would have a different top level maybe than I would look at, so they can drill down further down into their level, whereas I might have an overview about all clients, they would have an overview about the project and the details there, for example.
That's a beautiful example of what I'm talking about.
Okay, awesome, perfect. Yeah, so learning so much. What do you think? What kind of company size or what kind of company should actually look at getting a dashboard? Is this something every freelancer should have a dashboard already? Every 5-6-figure company should have a dashboard? Is this something where somebody, as soon as they have an employee, as soon as they get to a certain revenue level, when do you think does it make sense to think of a dashboard? Because I'm sure a lot of people listening have never thought about it.
Okay, let me start provocatively. The size doesn't matter. Okay.
Whatever I'm saying now is wrong, so I'm not going to comment on it.
No, I mean it. There's a completely different criteria here.
Mhm.
Okay. I say reporting and analytics dashboard come in the game in an enterprise where the word many comes up at least once. Many in like customers,
Mhm.
in products, in suppliers, in number of people. Well, for small companies, you won't have many people, okay? Processes, many processes, many reports that you need, many data sources that you may have, okay? So if you look across these dimensions and the word many comes in at least one of them, then with 95%, you will benefit from good reporting, from good dashboards and reports. Okay.
So
Now,
pretty much everybody, yeah.
well,
Let me ask this question. Have you come across a company where you say it doesn't make sense that you guys run a dashboard?
yes. Yes, I have come across. I mean, there are some companies who are very, very simply structured. Okay. And could be even bigger companies. I mean, I had companies of several hundred people. I would do the reporting audit for them, and the Excel sheets that they were using, that was more than enough. On the other side, one of our recent customers, 25 people. 25 people. Okay. Now, they have got 900 products that they are selling across 20 plus countries. Okay. There's no way they can track all these things with a few simple spreadsheets. No way. I mean, if they want to make some serious decisions, if they would really want to see the trends, okay, or spot the trends, meaning before problems really happen, they need serious reporting. And it's just 25 people.
That's fascinating.
Okay?
That's fascinating. I'm
I mean, the word many.
Yeah.
The word many is important. Okay. Now, if a freelancer has got thousands customers, whichever way he or she would serve them, okay, well, then a freelancer would benefit from good reporting. Period.
Yeah, makes sense. We were really, when I lost my thousands because of bad data tracking, we were really small. I think we were a team of 3 people and probably 20 clients, and started a new business division, and just it took us a year or 2 years even to figure out it wasn't working profitably, because we just were really busy. We had a really good positioning. Everybody was happy with what we delivered, but it took us 2 years to figure out, hey, this isn't actually working, because we were doing other things as well. We were mostly checking the revenue, mostly checking like the lag metrics rather than lead metrics, and really seeing that this is a problem. What I was just already also reminded of, and I know a lot of people, when I bring up dashboards, etc., they're going to say, I have this. I just can look in my Google Analytics, right? Now Google Analytics in particular, for everybody listening, probably they still remember the pain it was to go to Google Analytics 4 from the universal Google Analytics. Everybody got used to after another change and another change and another change. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people who know they can technically look at Google Analytics for some details don't, because it's too complex. So this is what we essentially tried to do with our app. Just grab 3 KPIs we care about, which is conversions and traffic and click-through rate, roughly, to present our clients. Say, look, just look at these 3 things. We grab them from Google Analytics. You don't have to log in just to know how your SEO is going. But I think a big value of dashboards is really that you pick those kinds of elements that are really important, and you don't look at 950 other metrics you could be looking at, but at least you make sure that you look at the ones that actually matter. And you wouldn't log into Google Analytics, because everybody cringes whenever I bring up Google Analytics and I ask a client, have you seen this in Google Analytics? There is a kind of cringe, because it's not prepared for somebody to take action. It's prepared for digital marketers to drill really, really deep into the details, and then maybe create a Looker Studio dashboard or something like that out of it. But people, on the one hand, know they have the data somewhere if they want it, but they're not even using it because it's too complex.
See, that's, let's say, the big curse with The data people think, okay, if we just collect the data, which again, it's a challenge on itself, right? Yeah, then we've got everything that we need. You don't. Okay, I mean, that's just the prerequisite. Now you need to turn these data into actionable insights. Only then it's going to help you. Otherwise, I actually claim the data can harm you. Okay, because you spend time and money and energy on collecting it, and if you don't leverage that data, well, what have you done to your business? Harm. Okay. Not only this, but you are also missing opportunity on improving. Now, we very often also use Google Analytics as a source. Google Analytics, from our perspective, is a phenomenal platform where you can get all the data or most of the data that you need. But again, that is just a prerequisite. If you don't manage to turn that data into actionable insights, meaning choosing the right metrics, right KPIs that you would monitor, but not even this is enough. The next step is then really enough. Present it in an actionable way so that when you look at the chart, okay, you know, oh, I've got a problem here. Oh, here, this is really going well. So that then you go 1, 2, 3 levels in more details like where is it not going well, so that you come to the point where you start making decisions and taking actions. If that's not given, then the rest is in vain. Okay, you're just wasting your time, energy, and money. Okay.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And that's what you're experiencing. And this is what we see. And Google Analytics is just one of the source platforms we deal with. We deal with hundreds of them. Okay. Now, these platforms are there. Their primary role is to collect the data. Okay. To make sure that data gets generated or collected. Now, in most of the cases, and I'm not saying that's true for Google Analytics in particular, okay? It's the other systems that have got exactly the same issue. Well, they just put some really basic reporting on top of their data, and this is where then the users, the target audience, really struggle, okay? Because, you know, they say, oh, here's the data, and yeah, then they put some programmers who are really good, and they just, create some reports that kind of answer some of the questions, okay? But that's by far not enough. It's not leading to actionable insights.
Yeah, I love that. There are so many things. Go through my head, so many conversations I had with clients where they say, I can see what's working, but I can't see what's not working. So, for example, we had clients who say, okay, Google Analytics is showing me what gets traffic. It doesn't show me the pages that don't get traffic. So where we then run content audits for them and really assess every single page and how much traffic did this get and find all those pages that are completely invisible. We had a project where we had to delete 80% of their pages because they were useless. They were just pretty much dead weight. In no reporting they were looking at, it showed up what actually didn't work. We had a client we were working with in an e-commerce space. They had a software that was really smart and told them exactly, and they had a physical store. And the software told them exactly what to remove from their physical store because it's not selling. But what it didn't say was what to do with this stock. It was just in the warehouse. They knew they had 50,000, 100,000 euros, I think back then, in stock, which couldn't be in the store because the system was smart enough to tell them not to have it in the store because it's never selling. But they completely forgot about this metric. So they had to develop a specific dashboard to figure out what kind of stock is actually not selling and why and what happens with it and how to actually proceed. So it's always, I like how you always tie it to the necessary action first. It's okay, what is the action I want to take? And this defines what the dashboard I need.
And that's what we were talking about before, right? What kind of questions would you like to have answers? Okay. Yeah. What kind of information do you need in this particular situation that will help you take actions and make decisions?
Awesome. I love it. I think we're learning a lot. I really appreciate. I'm going to cut you off. I'm going to have you back at another episode. I think we always have a lot to talk about. I want to quickly ask you one question when we wrap this up. What's the best way to work with an expert like you Is this extremely expensive? Can I actually afford this as a small business? Is there a way I can get at least a design going in a quick way that shows me what kind of, or asks me the right question? How can I start working with you, or somebody listening to this and say, hey, I also want a dashboard. I want Felik's input. What's the best way?
Okay, let me give you two answers to this. Number one, just a very brief overview of the process, okay, that we apply regardless of how big or small companies. Again, as we discussed before, the size doesn't matter. It's the mini that really matters. So the principal process basically consists of three major steps, okay? The step number one is designing dashboards and reports. And I think we've spent quite a bit of time in this session stressing the importance of this step. The second step then, from design, we see what metrics are being shown and how they are being shown. And for this, then we derive what data on what level of detail and how often we need it. And then we go and start designing or start working on preparing the data for the reports, meaning collating the data from all the disparate systems where this data resides, okay, as a source. And then in third step, we go and take a BI tool and develop the visualization, navigation, and interaction so that then dashboards and reports can be pulled up on screen, whether it be notebooks or tablets or mobile devices, okay? So that's the principal process we follow. Well, you also asked about the cost. See, I mean, I cannot tell you it costs 3,560 euro, okay? Because we obviously need to know what is being done. But the cost is here just one component. What is really important is return on analytics. Is the reporting that you are going to have, is there a value of knowing for your organization? Meaning, is there a potential in parts of your business, in your business functions that you would have, that you have got, if you would have decision-making tools, better decision support-making tools like dashboards and reports, okay? So that really depends, if there is something to be improved in your company, parts of your company, your processes, and if you believe that having transparency or having means for showing improvement potential would improve that by 5%, 10%, 50%, well, then you can put the cost against it, and then you will see whether there is return on analytics. So that's one way of answering your question. The second way, if people were to work with us, well, we are just starting. We're going to start it in April, a campaign for limited number of entrepreneurs per month. Since I love design, have you noticed that I love design? I love design.
I had no idea, Felix.
You have it, right? So I love designing, and I said I would also like to understand what kind of dashboards and reports are needed in the space of SMEs. So what we will offer is a free design session for one dashboard or report. Okay, meaning how would that work? Well, obviously, you guys would need to share with me, invest half an hour, share the background information, and then my team and myself would go and design a dashboard or report for you and present it to you. Okay, so why would you do that, or where's the catch? Again, for us, we would like to know what kind of dashboards and reports are being used in the SME space. Okay. And for you guys, if you were to do that, well, you would get a professional design of one dashboard or report. Or alternative could be, well, you've got a dashboard or report, but you're not happy with, and you think it could be reworked. Well, then we would, by the same token, redesign that for you.
I love that. I think this is really, really generous. So essentially, it is in dashboarding in exchange for becoming a case study of multi-base SME. Definitely. Right. Definitely a great generous offer. We're going to definitely link to this in the show notes here as well. It's going to sit over at seoleverage.com/podcast. You find this episode there with the number 125. Feliks Golengko, thank you so much for coming to the show, for spending the time with us rather than designing, which you don't like at all, as we have learned. And I hope we can have you back at some point in the future, giving us a little bit more a detailed view into what can be improved, how to better leverage the data we have. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for having me. I have really enjoyed our conversation, and it's a pity we need to finish it. I'd love to talk about a couple of more things, but I think you and I've got we'll find another opportunity to discuss that, take this further.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Felix.